guys, welcome to my read along channel. Today we are going to start a new book. I'm really sorry for those of you who have been waiting for the story of Tracy Beaker. It's just I went away and I didn't want to take two books and make loads of weight in the luggage. And so I just bought a new book for a fresh start so that when I'm back I can finish off the very few pages we have left of the story of Tracy Beaker. So today we're going to start Jaqueline Wilson, The Dare Game, and Tracy Beaker is back, but I'll be referring to it as The Dare Game. This is a really special copy of mine. I found that this is the one that Jaqueline Wilson signed when I was a young girl, and she said to me, "This is the day that you'll remember that Jaqueline Wilson shoved a pineapple in her mouth because she was eating a fruit salad." So a really special memory there. And I did read a lot of Jaqueline Wilson books, as you will see on the upcoming books that I'm reading on this channel. So this is all Jaqueline Wilson's own work, of course. I'm just reading it for entertainment and pleasure. Let's get going. The first chapter is called No Home. You know that old film where they always show on TV at Christmas? The Wizard of Oz? I love it, especially the Wicked Witch of the West with her cackle and her green face and all her special flying monkeys. I'd give anything to have a wicked winged monkey as an evil little pet. It could whiz through the sky, flapping its wings and sniffing the air for that awful stale instant coffee and talcum powder teacher smell. And then it would swoop straight onto Mrs. Vomit Bagley and carry her away screaming. That will show her. I've always been absolutely tip-top at writing stories, but since I've been at this stupid new school, Mrs. VB just puts disgracefully untidy work, Tracy, and check your spellings. Last week we had to write a story about night time, and I thought it was unusually cool to subject. So I wrote 8.5 pages about this girl out late at night, and it's seriously spooky, and then this crazy guy jumps out at her and almost murders her, but she escapes by jumping in the river, and then she swims right into this bloated corpse. And then, when she staggers onto the bank, there's this strange flickering light coming from the nearby graveyard, and it's an evil occult sect wanting to sacrifice an innocent young girl, and she's just what they're looking for. It's a truly great story, better than any that Cam would write. I'll tell you about Cam in a minute. I'm sure it's practically good enough to get published. I typed it out on Cam's computer so it looked ever so neat, and the spell check took care of all the spellings, so I was all prepared for Mrs. Phoebe to bust a gut and write, "Very, very good indeed, Tracy. 10 out of 10 and triple gold star, and I'll buy you a tube of Smarties for playtime." Do you know what she really wrote? You've tried hard, Tracy, but this is a very rambling story. You also have a very warped imagination. I looked up warp in the dictionary, and she's recommending that it means to twist out of shape. That's spot on. I'd like to warp Mrs. Vomit Bagley, twisting and twisting, until her eyes pop and her arms and legs are wrapped right round her great big bum. That's another thing. Whenever I write the weeniest baby's little rude word, Mrs. BB goes bananas. I don't know what she'd do if I used a really bad words like beep and beep and beep. Brackets censored. I looked up ramble too. I liked what it said. To stroll about freely as for relaxation with no particular direction. So that's exactly what I did today. Instead of staying at boring old school, I bunked up and strolled around the town freely, as relaxed as anything. I had a little Potter and paper chase, and I bought this big fat purple notebook with my pocket money. I'm going to write all my mega ultra scary stories in it, as warped and as rambly as I can make them. And I'll write my story too. I've written all about myself before in the story of Tracy Beaker, so this can be the story of Tracy Beaker too, or find out what happens next to the brave and brilliant Tracy Beaker, or further fabulous adventures of the tremendous, terrific Tracy Beaker, or read more about the truly terrible Tracy Beaker, even more wicked than the Wicked Witch of the West. Yes, I was telling you about the Wizard of Oz. There's only one bit that I truly dread. I can't actually watch it. The first time I saw it, I very nearly cried. I don't cry though. I'm tough as old boots, new boots, the biggest, fiercest reinforced Doc Martens. It's the bit right at the end where Dorothy is getting fed up with being in Oz, which is mad if you ask me. Who'd want to go back to that boring black and white Kansas and to be an ordinary kid where they take your dog away when you could dance around Oz in your ruby slippers? But Dorothy acts in an extremely dumb manner all the way through the film. You think she had sussed it out for herself that all she had to do was click those ruby slippers and she'd get back home. That's it. That's the bit where she says, there's no place like home. It gets to me because there's no place like home for me. No place at all. I haven't got a home. Well, I didn't have a until recently, unless you count the home. If a home has a capital letter at the front, you can be pretty sure it isn't like a real home. It's just a dumping ground for kids with problems. The ugly kids, the bad kids, the daft kids, the ones no one wants to foster. The kids way past their sell-by dates, so they're all chucked on the rubbish heap. There were certainly some ultra rubbishy kids at the home, especially a certain Justine Littlewood. We were deadly enemies once, but then we made up. I even gave Justine my special Mickey Mouse pen. I rather regretted this actually, and asked for it back the next day, pretending it had just been on loan. But it wasn't Justine who was having any. There was no flies on Justine, no wasps, bees, or any kind of bug. It's weird, but I kind of miss Justine now. It was even fun when we were deadly enemies and we played the dare game. I've always been great at thinking up the silliest, daftest, rudest dares. I always dared everything and won until Justine came to the children's home. Then I still won. Most of the time I did. But Justine could certainly invent some seriously wicked dares herself. I miss her. I miss Louise too. And I especially miss Peter. This is even weirder. I couldn't stand wheezy old Peter when he first came to the home, but now it feels like he was my best ever friend. I wish I could see him. I especially wish I could see him right now, because I'm all on my own, and although it's great to be bunking off school and I found the most brilliant hiding place in the whole world, it is a little bit lonely. I could do with a mate. When you're in care, you need to make all the friends you can get because you don't have much family. Well, I've got family. I've got the loveliest and prettiest, best ever mum in the whole world. She's this dead famous Hollywood movie star, and she's in film after film, in so much demand that there isn't a minute of the day when she can see me. That's why I'm in care. Who am I kidding? Not you. Not even me. I used to carry on like that when I was little, and some kids took it all in, and even acted like they were impressed. But now when I come out with all that movie guff, they start to get this little curl of the lip, and then the minute my back's turned, I hear a splutter of laughter, and that's the kind of kids. The rest tell me straight to my face that I'm a nutter. They don't even believe my mum's an actress. I know for a fact she's been in some films. She sent me this big glossy photo of her in this negligee. But now kids nudge and giggle and say, "What kind of film was your mum in, Tracy Beaker?" So I duff them up, sometimes literally. I'm very handy with my fists. Sometimes I just pretend it in my head. I should have pretended inside my head with Mrs. Vomit Bagley. It isn't wise to tell teachers exactly what you think of them. She gave us this new piece of writing work this morning about my family. It was supposed to be an exercise in autobiography. It's really a way for teachers to be dead nosy and find out all sorts of secrets about the kids. Anyway, after she's told us all to start writing this my family stuff, she squeezes her great hips in and out of the desks till she gets to me. She leans over until her face is hovering a few inches from mine. I thought for one seriously scary second she was going to kiss me. "Of course you write about your foster mother, Tracy," she whispers, her tic-tac mint breath tickling in my ear. She thought she was whispering discreetly, but every single kid in the room looked up and stared. So I stared straight back and edged as far away from Mrs. VB as I could and said firmly, "I'm going to write about my real mother, Mrs. Bagley." So I did, page after page. My writing got a bit sprawling and I gave up on spelling and stopped bothering about full stops and capital letters because they're such a waste of time. But I wrote this amazing account of me and my mum, only I've never finished it because Mrs. Phoebe does another grand tour of the class, bending over and reading your work over your shoulder in the most off-putting way possible, and she gets to me and leans over, and then she sniffs inwards and sighs. I thought she was just going to have the usual old nag about the neatness and spelling and punctuation, but this time she was miffed about the content, not the presentation. "You and your extraordinary imagination, Tracy," she said in this falsely sweet, patronising tone. She even went tut-tut, shaking her head, still with this silly smirk on her face. "What do you mean?" I said, sharpish. "Tracy, don't take that rude tone with me, dear." There was an edge to her voice, and all I did my best to explain about autobiography. It means you tell a true story about yourself and your own life. "It's true, all of it," I said indignantly. "Really, Tracy," she said, and she started reading bits out, not to try and keep her voice down, revving up for public proclamation. "My mum is starring in a Hollywood movie with George Clooney and Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt, and they all think she's wonderful and want to be her boyfriend. Her new movie is going to star Leonardo DiCaprio as her younger brother, and she's got really matey with Leonardo at rehearsals, and he's seen the photo of me and she carries around in the wallet, and he says I look real cute and wants to write to me." Mrs. Phoebe read out this poisonous, high-pitched imitation of my voice. The entire class collapsed. Some of the kids practically wet themselves laughing. Mrs. Phoebe had this smirk puckering her lips. "Do you really believe this, Tracy?" she asked. So I said, I really believe that you're a stupid, hideous old bag who could only get a part in a movie about blood-sucking vampire bats." I thought for a moment she was going to prove her bat-star qualities by flying at my neck and biting me with her fangs. She certainly wanted to, but she just marched me out of the room instead and told me to stand outside the door because she was sick of my insolence. I said she made me sick, and it was a happy chance that her name was Mrs. V. Bagley. The other kids might wonder whether the V stood for Vera or Violet or Vanessa, but I was certain her first name was Vomit, and dead appropriate too, given her last name, because she looked like the contents of a used vomit bag. She went back into the classroom when I was only halfway through, so I said it to myself, slumping against the wall and staring at my shoes. I said I was thrilled to bits to miss out on her lesson because she was boring, and couldn't teach for toffee. She couldn't teach for fudge, nugget, licorice, or Turkish delight. I declared I was utterly ecstatic to be outside. Then Mr. Hathaway walked past with a little squirt from year 3 with a nosebleed. "Talking to yourself, kiddo," he said. "No, I'm talking to my shoes," I said crossly. I expected him to have a go at me too, but he just nodded and mopped the little spurting scarlet fountain. "I have quite a chat to my shoes when things are getting me down," he said. "Very understanding friend, Shoes. I find my old hush puppies especially comforting." The little squirt gave a whimper, and Mr. Hathaway gave him another mop. "Come on, pal, we'd better get you some first aid." He gave me a little nod, and they walked on. Up until that moment, I was convinced that this new school was 100% horrible. Now it was maybe 1% okay, because I quite liked Mr. Hathaway. Not that I had any chances of having him as my teacher, not unless I was shoved out of year 6 right to the bottom of the juniors, and the school was still 99% the pits, so I decided to clear off out of it. It was easy peasy. I waited until playtime when Mrs. Phoebe waved me away. Her nostrils pinched like I smelled bad, so I returned to the compliment and held my own nose, but she pretended not to notice. It was music in the hall with Miss Smith after playtime, so I was someone else's responsibility then. Only I wasn't going to stick around for music because Miss Smith keeps picking on me too. Just because of that one time I experimented with alternative uses of drumstick. So I moseyed down the corridor like I was going to the toilets only. I went right on walking around the corner, extra sharpish past reception, though Mrs. Ludovic was busy mopping the little girl with the nosebleed. It looked like World War III in her office, and then quick out the door and off across the yard. The main gate was locked, but that presented no problem at all for a Super Tracy. I was up that wall and over in a flash. I did fall over the other side, and both my knees got a bit chewed up, but that didn't bother me. They hurt quite a lot now, even though they've stopped bleeding. They both look pretty dirty. I probably introduced all sorts of dangerous germs into my bloodstream, and any minute now I'll develop a high fever and start frothing at the mouth. I don't feel very well, actually, and I'm starving. I wish I hadn't spent all my money on this notebook. I especially wish I hadn't picked one of the exact purple of a giant bar of Cadbury's milk chocolate. I shall start slathering all over it soon. I really like to call it a day and push off back to Cam's, but the clock's just struck and it's only 1 o'clock, lunchtime. Only I haven't got any lunch. I can't go back till tea time or Cam will get suspicious. I could show her my savage knees and say I had a dire accident and then got sent home, but Cam would think I'd been fighting again. I got in enough trouble the last time. It wasn't fair. I didn't start the fight. It was all that Roxanne Green's fault. She made this sneery remark to her friends about my t-shirt. She was showing off in her new DKNY t-shirt, zigzagging her shoulders this way and that. So I started imitating her and everyone laughed. So she goes, "What label is your t-shirt, Tracy?" Before I could make anything up, she says, "I know, it's Oxfam." Everyone laughed again, but this time it was awful. So I got mad and called Roxanne various names, and she called me names, and most of it baby stuff. But then she said I was the B word, and added that it was true in my case because I really didn't have a dad. So I had to smack her one then, didn't I? It was only fair. Only Roxanne and all her little girly hangers-on didn't think it was fair, and they told Mrs. Vomit Bagley, and she certainly didn't think it was fair, and she told Mr. Donay, the head teacher, and guess what? He didn't think it was fair either. He rang Cam and asked her to come to school for a quiet word. I was yanked along to the study too, and I said lots of words, not all quietly, but Cam put her arm round me and hissed in my ear, "Cool it, Trace." I tried. I thought cool and imagined a beautiful blue lake of water and me swimming slowly along. But I was so sizzling mad that the water started to bubble all around me, and I ended up boiling over and telling the head what I thought of him and his poxy teachers and putrid pupils. Get my vocabulary, Mrs. Phoebe. I very nearly ended up being excluded, which is mad. I should have been a cheekier because I don't want to go to this terrible old school, so I've excluded myself. I'm here. I'm in my own secret place, dead exclusive, my very own house. Home. Well, it's not exactly homely at the moment. It needs a good going over with a vacuum or two, or 3 or 4 or 5, and even though it's kind of empty, it needs a spot of tidying. There are empty beer cans and McDonald cartons chucked all over the place, and all kinds of freebie papers and advertising bump litter the hall, so you're wading ankle deep and when you come to the front door. Only I didn't, seeing as it's locked and bolted and boarded over. I came back through the broken window ever so carefully. I went in the back garden because I was mooching round and round the streets, dying for a wee. I came across this obviously empty house down at the end of the little cul-de-sac with the big brambles all over the place, giving lots of cover. So I thought I'd nip over the wall quick and relieve myself, which I did. I thought though a black cat suddenly streaked past, which made me jump and lose concentration, so I very nearly weed all over my trainers. When I was relieved and decent, I tried to catch the cat, pretending this was a jungle and the cat was a tiger, and I was all set to train it, but the cat went police and stalked off with its tail in the air. I explored the jungle by myself and spotted the broken window and decided to give the house a recce too. It's a great house. It hasn't quite got all mods and cons anymore. The water's been turned off and the lights won't switch on and the radiators are cold. But there's still a sofa in the living room. Quite a swish one, red velvet. Some plonker's put his muddy boots all over it, but I've been scratching at it with my fingernails, and I think it'll clean up a treat. You could bring a cushion and a blanket and some food. Yeah, next time. But now it's time for me to go. Back to Cam. And the next chapter will be called Cam's House, of course, and that is on page 25. So thank you again for listening, guys, and thank you for your patience. I know you all wanted the rest of the story of Tracy Beaker, but I wanted to get some read-alongs done for you so that you had at least something. So thank you again. This has been chapter 1, and we're finished on page 25. Until the next time, guys, goodbye.